Welcome to Subramani. Today I'm going to talk about a tweet by Vivek Kaul where he has taken somebody else's work of saying SIP is better than buying a property, and he says this is not the right way to do it. I completely agree with him. Buying a house or staying in a rented house is largely an emotional decision also. I'm not saying it is only an emotional decision or only a financial decision. So somebody who needs say 3 crores for retirement is about 60 years of age and has 30 crores. What kind of an achievement is that? I mean, having more money, why is that considered to be an achievement? And he's telling his wife, let's live in a rented house because we will create more wealth. For what are you creating more wealth, right? Wealth creation has to have a purpose. The purpose has to be your own security, security of your loved ones, maybe a friend, maybe a parent, maybe your children, whatever. And then you need to enjoy life also. So if you are constantly worried, should I be buying, should I be renting? I stay in this nice house and it's paid for. I didn't have to borrow. That's my luck, right? Also, strategy to buy the house late. Obviously, when you're 22 years of age and you want to buy a house, or even when you're 32 years of age and want to buy a house, you will have to borrow. Now all the assumptions everywhere is about saying, okay, the rental yields are not attractive, so don't buy to give it on rent. I totally agree. And then you pick up a calculator and say 7.5% is the rate at which you will be borrowing, and 12% is the return that you will get in equity, right? So 7.5 to 12 is 4.5%. So whether you make it for 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 550 years, doesn't matter. It gets better and better that you rent and you don't buy. But it is not going to end the buying. Look at those people who, let's say there is a boy who has been brought up in an orphanage and is married to a girl who has also been brought up in an orphanage. Believe me, the first asset that they will want to build is a house, maybe a car, and then definitely a house, because it gives them security. Don't underestimate the emotional quotient of buying a house. I don't agree that for many people, when you're 28 years of age, don't buy a house and be trapped in the city where you bought a house. Suppose you got a job in Baroda, you like Baroda and you bought, and your next job is in Hyderabad. Will you buy one in Hyderabad? Will you buy one in Pune? Will you buy one in Dubai, Singapore and London? If these are the different places in which you worked, answer is no, maybe not. But if you come from a broken home, will you buy a house? I think it's the first asset that you will buy, right? There is no doubt about that. And of course, the way these people have calculated, whoever it is, buying versus renting, ticker tape. What they have done is, I'm not even getting into whether they are mathematically correct or wrong. It is none of my business. Because rents also go up. There are some finicky landlords. I've been lucky, like Vivek Kaul says, he's been lucky. He stayed in a rented house all his life. I've been lucky. I stayed in a rented house for 15 years, 14 years, where the landlord was very unhappy that I was leaving rather than him wanting me to go. It was me choosing to go away from him rather than him choosing me to go away, right? So some of us are lucky, and I always thought that you should buy a house at a later stage after you have decided. Like for example, for me, this is the last home. After this, I will go to a senior citizen home. I don't think I'll buy another house just to live. I mean, I've passed the stage when I think I will change homes. So, but that may not be true for everyone. That brings me to the other question of, I had said, what about senior citizen homes and what should be the rules and regulations? So I think only if there are rules and regulations will somebody sensible come into this business. Will a Raheja or Apollo Hospital or any other Fortis Hospital want to come into this area? The answer is no, not till there is legislation. Why do we need legislation? Now, suppose a son comes with his parents and says, my parents will stay here and it is going to cost me, I know it's going to cost me 1 lakh per month for my parents. So here is a deposit of 10 lakhs and I will send you 1 lakh every month. Now he sends 1 lakh for 5 months, 6 months, maybe 1 year, and after that he stops sending. As the owner of the place or the administrative head, maybe the MD of the place, what can I really do? Can I say no, throw them out? it's going to be emotionally very difficult because the son has sold the house and shifted them here and taken the money and scooted. So ideally what should happen? I should say, okay, give me a bank guarantee for 5 years. After 5 years we will see what is to be done, because I don't know whether there will be a bank guarantee valid for 10 years or 20 years, because 20-year deposit may not be available with the bank, so bank may not give a bank guarantee. So give me a bank guarantee for 1 crore, so that in case you don't pay, I encash the bank guarantee, put it in the bank as a deposit, and I will at least get 10 lakhs from that as interest. I'm assuming 10% rate, which is of course wrong. I'll get something so that next 5 years, 10 years is taken care of. I would actually want to do that. Take the other situation where a person comes, makes a deposit, I'm a sole proprietor running it, and I die, and all my liabilities get attached, and so all your deposits get attached to it. So we need legislation, financial legislation, or rather how to run the old age home. We need a senior citizen home initially for the 70-year-old till he reaches or she reaches age of 80-85. At 85 we need geriatric care. So if I set up a senior citizen home with 100 people, I need to set up a geriatric care with 30 people, 25 people. It will be partially funded by some of the people staying there, partially subsidized for poor people who can't afford, partly aided by the state government, partly aided by some welfare, some local MP, MLA, local donations. Right, it will have to be created that way. It will have to set up a small hospital. Maybe I tie up with a hospital and say, can you open a small unit near the place where I run my senior citizen home, where I run my geriatric care. I need to do all that. I need to put ambulances in place. I need to put doctors in place. I need to do all that. I need to invest money. So is it something which is currently it is being run as mom and pop shows? There's one man doing it in Chennai, one man doing it in Pune, two people doing it in Coimbatore. It's not in a very organized way. It is a mom and pop show, and there are a lot of problems in a lot of locations, right? So the emotional quotient apart, we need to have to make sure that it is run efficiently. I don't want a senior citizen home that where every day I get kiss and hugs. I don't want, but I want it to be run efficiently. If I fall down or if my spouse falls down, I want somebody to help very quickly. In 5 minutes, I want the problem sorted out, and I want that institutionalized, right? So if I want all that institutionalized, if I have to run it like Apollo Hospital, I'll have to invest like Apollo Hospital. Let's not fool ourselves. You cannot invest, not invest and run a very efficient and big and nice, clean hospital. Exactly like that, I will want to run a senior citizen home. Yes, it will cost money. It is not meant for the underprivileged. It is meant for people who afford it, and there is a big market which can afford it. But for heaven's sake, I want legislation. Second, I also find people saying, oh, but what about the responsibility of the children? I think go take a walk. Your children may not be able to do it. One, many people may not have children. Many people may have children in very inconvenient locations. Now suppose you have a child, and that your son or daughter has a special child, and therefore that special child cannot be left unattended in, say, US. How is that son or daughter going to come and look after you or your sambandhi, right? Both of them will need your attention. It will be impossible for them to come. All of us today have 1.5 children, right? So how are we, what happens if something happens to that child? What happens if the child is dead? Forget being unwell and unable to come. What happens, right? So you need to answer all those questions. When you were young and you had a kid, you left the kid in a creche, right? You didn't feel, you didn't have pangs of guilt, and you did not die of guilt because you left your kid in a creche. It was convenient, it was necessary, and it was the right thing to do. It is not that you loved your child less or anything like that. It was the right thing to do, so you did it. Similarly, we need nice senior citizen homes, we need geriatric centers, and we need legislation. So first step is we need good quality legislation. Only when there is good quality legislation of how deposit can be maintained, what can be the charges, how will the charges be increased, is there a committee to increase the charges, how many doctor visits, how many nurses will be employed per person, right? You need to legislate a lot of those things. Only then will good big investors come. Only then will a Fortis want to set up a senior citizen care next to their hospital or very close to their hospital. that is also going to seek, maybe a Raheja will come into it, maybe big builders, Lodha may come into it. Only then will you start attracting good quality professionals for geriatric care and all that. Don't stop fooling yourself into believing it's a small business. Right now it's a mom and pop show. It has to get more professionalized. And I think people should stop talking about it from an emotional point of view. It is becoming an absolute necessity for the senior citizens. Thank you.